Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, and time for a sales logic. Hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. How are things? How's your week been, Mark?
Hey, the week has been good. It's been busy, like every week is. A lot of new things opening up. We'll talk about a few of them when we come out of the opening video.
Sounds
But
good.
hey, we do have a cool show because we're going to be talking about how do you reactivate the dormant customer. Now, think about that. With the whole economy that we're in right now, you got to make sure you got every customer pulling for you, every customer working for you. So we're going to talk really in depth about how to reactivate the dormant customer. Great question, great book. Yep, good show.
Good show.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Hey, we got three things that you need to join us on, the audience. Meridith and I, next week, we're going to be doing a live show in Vilnius, Lithuania. So, hey, why don't you come on over and join us, okay? all of our Lithuanian friends. Yeah, it's kind of random, but that's where we're going to be doing the show next week. Hey, and the other thing is, Calendly, we're teaming up with them to do a great webinar on February 9th, talking about how to fill the pipeline during economic uncertainty. We'll put the link in the show notes. And Mary, you've got a special webinar too coming up, right? Why don't you tell the audience about
that? The ninth is kind of webinar day for us. We're going to be working with Calendly, which I'm super excited about. And then earlier that day, I've got my annual New Year's resolutions. Every year I put out my New Year's resolutions, what you need to be thinking about, worrying about in 2023, but more importantly, the solutions you need to make 2023 your best year on record. That's going to be at noon Eastern. We'll make sure those hit the show notes as well. Mark, I do, how rare that we get to speak in an event together. We're usually, on different sides of the country, but you and I are going to be in Lithuania together, and it's going to be super exciting. We're there speaking to a large group of sales professionals in that part of the country, and we're going to do a show from there. See what sales looks like in Lithuania and cover a hot topic. So I hope that you will plan to join us same time, right? 8 a.m. Eastern. So don't miss it next Saturday morning.
I think it's going to be a kick. Yeah. I mean, we do the shows on the road together domestically, but we never done it outside the country. So anyway, hey, why don't you tell the audience how the show works?
Yeah, so every Saturday we come to you, and the first thing we cover is a question from you, the audience. So if you want to participate, and we love our audience, we love our followers, just go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You can do a couple of things there. Check out the new website. It looks amazing. You can rate and review the show, which we would love you to do, and you can ask a question there. We'll feature you right here on Sales Logic. We cover hot topics, suggest a book you should be reading. And because we want you to leave with return on investment, we do a lightning round. So those are the strategies you can implement immediately. So Mark, what's on tap for today?
Well, the topic is reactivating the dormant customer. The question today comes to us from Ann in Israel. She's a great listener. She's followed us for a long time. She asked, if a former client has not ordered in a year or two, should their account status in CRM be changed back to prospect, or should it stay client? Do they need the outreach of a client who ordered in 2022, or should they be treated as a new prospect? We know they are a prospect, not a lead, as they have ordered the product in the past and from us.
So the question on the table is, should they be treated as a new customer or a prospect or reactivating an existing customer? Is that correct?
That's the question. And I got some pretty interesting comments I want to share, but why don't you go first?
Dive in, Mark.
Okay. Our good friend, Jill Conrad, shared this line one time. You treat a prospect exactly the same way you treat a customer. Boom, drop the mic on that one. Here's the thing. We all have customers that have gone dormant on us. You can move them back to whatever status you want in your CRM system, but I believe you have to be treating them the same way, because here's the whole thing. Dormant customers have gone dormant because they haven't found a reason to do business with you. What does this mean? You're not sharing with them really enough value or something of that nature, or maybe you don't know their business well enough. So what does that mean? You've got to be doing a much deeper dive with them to understand their business and to be sharing with them insights that help them do their business. So anyway, you jump in and I'll share an example here in just a bit.
Yeah, I sort of think the opposite from Jill Conrath. I mean, I think that you should, I think that you should, treat a customer just like you treat a prospect. Where once somebody typically becomes our customer, we take our foot off the gas. So in this situation, this is somebody who hasn't done business with you in a while. The truth is their business has changed, but I don't care if they've ordered from you every year. Their business changes constantly. So you need to do the things that you would always do. You need to research. You need to see what's changed. What can you find out before ever having a conversation with them? So you go in, with the right information and the right background. And then you need to decide which questions you need to ask in order to go deep with them. The only difference between this, though, and a prospect is you need to acknowledge and know why they did business with you before, how they used the product, was the product of value. And then I would be curious to try to do my research as to why they stopped doing business with us. That may be something you've got to ask, but if there's anything you can look out. But I tend to think opposite of Jill. We tend to treat prospects better than we treat customers. That's my experience anyway.
Well, see, this brings up a dilemma, because I think too many times we treat customers just, when they're ready to order, they'll order.
Right, exactly.
And that's that taking that foot off the gas. And I had a situation where client that I'm on the verge of doing some significant work with globally, but I've always stayed in touch with them. And it's interesting, but we're now putting it together. But if I had not been continuously sending them the insights and conversing with them and talking with some of their distributors, talking with some of their dealers, this opportunity never would have come around, because they probably never would have thought of me if I had not stayed in their face, so to speak, by providing them value. This is the key thing. We can't forget about our current customers. And this is why, the title of the show is Reactivating the Dormant Customer. Hey, guess what? I'm going to call this out. Salespeople, we're guilty of letting dormant customers become dormant because we haven't done anything to keep them engaged.
Yeah, I mean, that should be the first question, right? Is why did this customer have to reach back out to you to want to do more business? You should be staying in touch with, with dormant customers. You should be, I do it all the time. I made my list of my top 100 this year that I want to do business with, that I want to call on, that I make every holiday season. I put together my top 100, and 30 of them are people I've done business with before that I'm not actively doing business with right now.
And that's something key. Staying in touch with them is not putting them on your email list. Mm-hmm. That doesn't count. I mean, that's just standard. That's easy to do. Staying in touch with them means picking up the phone, calling them, sending them a very specific email. In fact, I remember that there was one email in particular that I shared with the head of the sales division of this company that had gone dormant. And it's interesting, but when he came back and we had a conversation, he recited back to me some of the exact things I shared with him in that email. Guess what? That means it's resonating. That means it's hitting home. You've got to go out of your way to treat customers with, as you would say, almost better, because we treat prospects better. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really curious about this whole idea that you would have a definition in your head that you would treat a prospect different than a customer. I mean, to me, that could be a whole topic for a show. And I'm just kind of wondering why, and I'm wondering what she really meant behind that. I mean, do they have a whole methodology to go after a prospect? And then once a customer is a customer, I mean, one of the biggest things that I always talk about with sales professionals is follow up is about two pieces. It's following up with prospects so you can get the deal to close, but following up with customers. I work a lot in the financial services industry, and we talk a lot about financially active customers. There's a period from about 30 to 50 in your life where your life changes constantly. You get married, you get divorced, you have kids, you buy homes, you have aging parents, you save for college, and if you're not staying in touch with those existing customers, you can't be taking care of them. I think about everybody that we've done business with, where their business was when COVID hit, where it was in the last 2 years as we kind of came out of COVID, went back into COVID, came out of COVID. And as we head into 2023, whatever 2023 is going to be, there's so much shifting for people. Why wouldn't you be staying in touch?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I love what Adam is saying here in terms of, staying in touch does not mean putting them in our drip marketing campaign. That is so spot on. That's what we've been talking about. But here's something key. You've got to be putting it in your CRM system to make that follow-up call, to send that very special email, whatever it might be. One of the techniques that I tell salespeople to do is use Friday afternoons. Friday afternoons to me are a great time to be, to me, that's prospecting day, that's closing day. So many things happen on Friday afternoons. But it's also a great time to pick up the phone and call some of those dormant customers. Because again, you don't know, chances are they're going to pick up the phone because it's a little more laid back. Minimally, you're sending them an email. You're sending them. I just did a video yesterday. And one of the strategies for senior level people is you send them a very special email just designed for them on a Saturday morning at 6:30, like right after you listen to Sales Logic.
Yeah.
And you put in it just a little piece of newsworthy information, something happening in the industry that they're in or something. And you email that to them on a Saturday morning. And it's very specific, very direct. And I'm amazed. I do this on a Saturday morning. In fact, I'll be doing this right when we get done with the show. And it's very interesting. I get a lot of responses back on Saturday morning, which is great. What am I doing? I'm dripping on CEOs, C-suite people I don't normally get a chance to talk to. And maybe it's been a long time since I've touched base with them, but it reactivates. There's so many strategies, but you got to be proactive in doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting in the nonprofit world, we have this. Whenever you sit on boards to raise money for organizations, years ago we started talking about this idea that do we only talk to our customers, our donors when we want them to give us money? And for so many nonprofits, that's what they do. They only reach out when we want. Well, the same can be said of us as salespeople. Do we only reach out when it's time to refill an order? And if you're doing that, you're opening the door for your competition. The chances that you are going to interact with somebody at the exact moment they are ready to buy are pretty slim to none. But one of my favorite questions to ask a prospect is, when is the last time you heard from your sales rep? When's the last time you engaged with them? And more often than not, they'll say, I haven't talked to them in a while. Because of exactly the reason you said, Mark, is we assume that if a customer wants to buy, they'll pick up the phone and they'll call us. I think as salespeople, we're like programmed. We love the chase. So we go after the prospect, right? We want the new deal. So we forget about our existing customers.
Yeah. It's for some reason we think if we're thinking about the customer, we think the customer's thinking about us.
Yeah.
Not happening. Not happening. You've got to be proactive. And when you're proactive, it's amazing what happens, because you start having conversations with existing customers, dormant customers, we'll say. And you know what? They're going to have conversations with you, and they're probably going to share with you more information. What does that do? That makes you more educated, more in tune, more confident on your prospecting calls. I love this balancing effect, because it raises all boats in the water. I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. So you got to be engaged with existing customers. Don't allow that to fall on customer service. Oh, customer service takes care of existing customers. There's a reason they're paid a lot less than you are as salespeople.
I also think we miss how incredibly easy the sale is with an existing customer. I just had one. I've got a group that I do quite a bit of work for. And every year I usually do some quarterly coaching with their executive team. Well, I hadn't heard from the CEO on that. We talked about other projects, but we hadn't talked about this. I just shot her an email a couple weeks ago and I said, are you ready to renew that contract for the executive coaching of the DR? It came back like that. She said, yeah, just send me an agreement. It, like to your point, it hadn't been top of mind for her because she had so many other things going on. But those people already know you, like you, and trust you. I often say to my clients, the worst thing that can happen to you in the marketplace, the absolute worst, is not that you don't get the sale. It's that your customers find out about a product or service they need from somebody else other than you. Because the moment that I sell Mark, he trusts me. I don't care if I sold him a product 2 years ago. He assumes if there's something that could benefit his life, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to offer that product. Why we leave that easy sale off the table is beyond me.
Oh, and even if there's a transition of people, I just had this situation just this week. There's a company I did some work with a couple years ago, and the gentleman I worked with was absolutely outstanding. Their sales team loved it, and he moved on to a different position. This lady stepped into his role, and it was absolutely amazing. But in just an exchange of really 2 voicemails and 2 emails, she said, Mark, I know you've done great work. We've got to get you back in here, but things have changed and da-da-da. And she went on and on in her voicemail that, it's incredible. And what is it going to do? It's going to be another easy opportunity, not an easy opportunity. It's going to be a difficult piece to fulfill, but an easy opportunity for me to help the customer because I stayed in touch with them all the way through.
Yeah. Adam makes such a great point. Customers don't wake up thinking about their sales rep. Yeah, Mark agrees with that. They wake up thinking how to address their challenges and fix their problems. So true. And that's the reason we're reaching out. But I tell you, one of the biggest mistakes I made was my strategy a few years ago used to be just staying in touch with customers, checking in, how are things going? And I didn't ask for the business. And I assumed if they wanted something, they would tell me they wanted something. And I was staying visible with them, right? And when I finally thought, well, that's weird. I thought we were going to sign the contract by now. I reached back out and they had signed a contract with somebody else. That's my fault. So some of those reach outs have to say, hey, Adam, I've loved talking with you. Tell me what's going on for 2023. I want to talk about some things that we could do to really help you achieve your goals. You literally have to ask for the business.
You've got to be deliberate with the CTA, the call to action. You have to, because otherwise it just, like you said, it just becomes a conversation between 2 friends. I've been guilty of that. We all have. Now, I want to spin this around the other way because I see a lot of salespeople who kind of view themselves as account managers. And what they do is they just nurse existing customers and they don't spend any time over on the prospecting side. But here's the whole situation. Come back to what Mary just talked about. If you're having communication and dialogue with that customer, are you getting incremental business from them? This is so key. Sales is about creating incremental opportunities. It's not about existing business. It's incremental. So you've got to be very deliberate. Just what Mary said, you can have the conversation, but you got to come right out and ask for it. And if you don't come out and ask for it, shame on you if that business walks out the door and goes somewhere else.
Yeah, I love Amer's comment. I hope I didn't butcher your name. I guess treating a prospect as a customer is not realistic as they are actually not customers yet. If you follow up, follow back, and follow through with prospects and show value in a simple way, then they might get qualified. Absolutely, but I'm going to argue that point just a little bit. Follow up, follow back, and follow through is exactly what you should be doing with a customer. The other is part of the prospecting process is you selling from a place of power and qualifying that prospect. One of the reasons that I'm having the conversation is not to get you to buy a product. I'm trying to figure out if I can really help you. I mean, I've done my due diligence and my research. I'm probably, by the time I call on a prospect, I'm probably 60% of the way there, 60 to 70, pretty sure that you're qualified. Because if I'm not 60 to 70% of the way there, I'm not going to burn a sales call, right? But through that first couple of prospecting, I'm trying to figure out if you qualify. And if you do, whether you're a customer or a prospect, I'm going to follow up, I'm going to follow back, and I'm going to follow through. I'm going to follow the exact same process with it. I just have a leg up if you've ever bought something from me before, because you've had an experience with me that I'm going to trust has been a good experience, and I can go deeper with that. Mark, what do you think about the comment?
I agree with your comment, Mary, because I think we do have to treat them the same. You know, I really do. And you've got to be proactive. You know, one of the things that I tell people, I'll work with the sales team and they're like, they're a little hesitant to prospect. I'll say, well, one of the easiest ways to prospect then is to make your first call or two to an existing customer, because you've got a relationship. Now, excuse me, if they don't like you, maybe it's your personality. Okay? You're saying maybe it's you, maybe there's something wrong with you. But here's what you have to stop and ask yourself this question. With every conversation I have, am I learning something new? Am I learning something new? And this is why this whole thing, and you brought up those dreadful words, checking in. You know, how many times have you received an email from somebody, from some salesperson who says they're just checking in?
Yeah. Oh, quite a few.
Yeah. And my response, I never do it, but I want to say, I didn't realize I was a hotel. You know, that's what you do at a hotel. You know, you've got to deliver value. You've got to bring to your customer something of merit, something of interest. And when you do that, it's amazing how you will be able to reactivate that dormant customer. But you've got to understand why, which means you got to understand their business and understand them. So you got to have a conversation. Don't think it's a one-way street. You're just blasting them information. That's why I condemn the email marketing, campaigns. Hey, I've got an email marketing campaign. You do too. Great. But that's not the one-to-one nature that we want to have. All that does is kind of put a broad umbrella out there. It doesn't bring it home for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing we need to talk about too, though, I think when you look at dormant customers, you also need to ask yourself, is this a good and use of your time? I mean, I sit here and think about, I've been in this business now for about 15 years, and my business has changed so much over the 15 years, and my pricing has changed. What I do for companies have changed. I have dormant customers from the first, 5 to 7 years of my business that aren't a good fit for me anymore. I don't think. Now, I need to look at their business too. Maybe their business has grown like my business has grown. But I think you need to do as much due diligence as you can on the front end to see if it's a good and effective, use of your time.
Now, that's a great comment, because here's the whole thing. This is not the time to go outside your lane. You still have to stay in your lane. We bring the most value to customers who we know the lane that they're in, and they happen to be in the same lane we're in. Right. That's where we bring the most value. So you're right. You may have some old customers. I've got some like that too. But you know what? Their business is just totally different than what I'm doing today, and not going down that path. Just not doing it. It's okay. Yeah. But I will stay in touch with them. Yeah. For two reasons. One, I may be able to send them somebody else. I may be able to refer them to somebody else. And two, there's just insights and knowledge, because again, this is a relationship, and I never know when they may refer me. And I've had that happen on a number of occasions. There were some clients that I worked with years ago. But we've just stayed in contact with a friend, and they refer me business. So again, this is a relationship. Business is people, and people are relationships. So it's not that difficult. Hey, time is moving along here. Should we talk about the book?
Yeah, do it.
Hey, the book is Patrick Tinney. I don't know if you're watching this morning, but Patrick Tinney, great friend of ours out of Canada, he's written the book, The Bonus Round. And you do need to get, now here's the whole thing. We should almost be doing the trilogy from Patrick, because not only has he written The Bonus Round, but he's written Unlocking Yes and Perpetual Hunger. And the three books really go together, but they're going to give you some of those insights that you're going to need to keep that conversation going and to reactivate that conversation. So we'll put a link in the show notes, but I really suggest The Bonus Round by Patrick Tinney.
Awesome. I haven't read it, so I'm excited about it.
Well, you got, and if I had had enough time, I would have found it on my bookshelf back here. But I say that every week, don't I? Anyway.
Yes, you do.
Thanks. Really, throw me into the bookcase. Okay. Lightning round. Are you ready?
I am.
Top 10 ways to get the dormant customer active. Go.
Make a list of your dormant customers and qualify which ones you want to follow up with and which ones maybe you need to pass on to somebody else.
Pick up the phone. Make the call.
Work them into your prospect list. You carry a prospecting list of your top 50, your top 100. Make a good chunk of that your dormant customers.
Share with them a valuable, keen, current insight. Get the conversation going.
Let them know that this is going to be a regular interaction with them. With dormant customers, you're going to reach out 2-3 times a year. Set up the expectation that you're going to be reaching out to have those conversations.
Do a performance assessment. Hey, I want to talk to you. We've done some business with you, but really want to understand, how's it working out? What's it happening for you? Have a frank, candid conversation as to how your performance, your support, what you sold them up to that point has performed for them.
Yeah, great. And then I would say from that performance assessment, do an assessment looking forward. I know that it's been a while since we did some business together. I want to understand how your business has changed, what new things that you have planned for 2023, and see if there's some things that we can do to support and help you achieve your goals.
You probably already know this with that customer, who their perfect customer is, but call them up and say, hey, who is your perfect customer? Because I want to make sure that I'm able to refer you to somebody else. And it's amazing, that simple action of gifting them an opportunity to have another customer, suddenly it's going to get them thinking, you know what? I need to be doing more work with you.
Yeah, work them into your follow-up system. Make sure that don't just assume that you're going to call a dormant customer, and if they don't pull the trigger right then, if they're a good qualified prospect customer, go ahead and work them into your follow-up system.
Great. Hey, I'll share one more. You share one more. Don't call them dormant. Call them customer. It's amazing how your mindset becomes your headset.
Yeah, treat them exactly like you would treat a prospect. Do your research on the front end, know their business, know their industry, go there with really good questions to ask and present really solid solutions.
Hey, make sure you jump down to the show notes for February 9th, because February 9th is Sales Logic Day with the Meridith event. And then both Mayor and myself will be doing the event in the afternoon. So, hey, make sure you check that. But anyway, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
And remember, the sale becomes logical when you sell with integrity and confidence.
And you can turn your uncertainty into a major competitive advantage.
I love it. Hey, we're in Lithuania next week. Yeah, I love it.
That's right. Join us in Lithuania right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning. Mark and I will have very different backgrounds, a hot new topic. Until then, enjoy the week, close a lot of deals, reach out to those dormant customers, and turn more prospects into customers and more customers into your raving fans. We'll see you next week.